Still got a few people joining, so brilliant. Well, I'll start again then. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. So it's actually a craft along today, so hopefully some of you will play along. Don't worry though if not, because I'll save the video in the group, so I'll resave it as an MP4 and it will be under guides in the paper artsy group. I will share it to YouTube. I know some people prefer to view on YouTube. It will be in my group, Create with Kate, so that's going to be pinned at the top under featured. So you can always go back. I know some people just like to watch and eat their dinner or whatever, and then perhaps join in later, or maybe you get a craft weekend together with friends. I know Susie's here, she does that sometimes and watches things and joins in then. Right, I'm going to get started fairly soon anyway. I know quite a few people are still joining. So here is the plan for today. Now this background I've created with a brayer and some frescoes, but I've also used infusions on top of the frescoes, and I've been playing about with the new stamps to like Frankenstein them, put them together. So I've got the hare head on the bird body, I've added the little fish coming in here. So we're going to do the background first, give that chance to dry, and then we'll look at playing about a little bit with stamps and putting different elements together. It's really fun, and you can put some funny images together. So things that I'm going to be using today, I'm going to be using from the latest release. So there's the fishy one, the hares, and then the crazy birds. So those are numbers KC 18, 19 and 20. And I'm going to use this stencil, but again, any stencil, you can play with whatever you have, but I'm going to use this leaf stencil, and this is number PS504. I still get regular questions about looking for stockists. I know we've got some stockists in the group, so please feel free and do share links underneath, and also go to the Paper Artsy blog. At the top you can look for international stockists on there, and they are listed for your country. If you're going to play along, you're going to need a few things. So you might just like to get some bits together. So like I said, I'm using a brayer. I like a brayer, it's fast, puts a nice thin layer on, so that dries fast, and then straight away you can layer up and play on top. I've got some sponges to use with my stencil. I'm going to be using, now I'll explain colours, but I'm going to start with a layer of frescoes, and then I'm also going to add some infusions. And I'm going to do that with a brayer as well. So I'm working on a non-stick craft mat as well, so that helps to bead up the infusions for the effect that I would like. I've already got my stamped images cut out. I like to have a few cut out, and then I can just pick them up and go. And I will colour that with, and I'm going to use a mixture of paper piecing and watercolours. Now I'm working on loose leaf card, and I've also got a bit of craft cut because I'm working in a craft journal. Now you can work on anything. You work straight in a journal if you want to. I think when I do this, I quite like to work on loose leaf because I can just get really messy with it. But then when I mount it, I like to leave this space around the edge. I think I work with so much colour and dense layers that sometimes trimming and giving that space around the edge just gives it a little bit of space to breathe, so it's not just wall to wall colour. But again, it's completely up to you. I've got some other little stamps here. So this is from the minis. Now this was the release before Christmas, so the end of 2025, and this is from the minis KCM 021. So I've got just these little tiny minis, and I think I've said to you before, I tend to just keep these in a little pot on my table. I can just always grab and go. Right, I'm going to turn the camera around now. We're going to have a closer look at these backgrounds, and then we're going to make a start. So if you're joining in, we're going to start with a brayer. We need some white, and then we're going to choose a colour family, and I'll explain that in a moment. So let me just turn the camera. Brace yourselves for a minute. Get a little bit of light on as well. It's quite hard this time of year. It gets so dark, and yet light can give you a little bit too much glare sometimes. Just going to add another light source in here. Okay. Now, first of all, here's a close-up then of the original. See if we get a little bit more light there. I think that's better. And then this is the background. So I was playing about with this one earlier. This is the background before I layer it up with images on the top. Now what I will do, I've got step-by-step photos of all of this in progress. So at the end, I will add progress photos in the comments as well, so that you can go back and have a closer look. So here you can see I've got a braid layer first, then I've gone through my stencil, and then all these little dots is the infusions on top. I'm just working on this bit of card so I can be messy. And then I've also got this bit of card behind. This is just to cut down a bit on the glare. Now I've chosen, so I always start with white, and then I'm building in prawn with a bit of cherry red and the kiwi gold. Now, you know me, I always go for the pinks, can't help it. But if you're wanting to work, say, in a different colourway, have a look at the blues. So all we're looking at really is a light, a medium, a darker colour, and then something like the lime would work really well with the blues. Or there's also something like ochre, there's banana, there's a few in those yellows. Now, generally yellow goes with anything. So you're looking at sort of a colour family with something a bit yellowy. That just works. So I'm going to stick with my... Now I haven't added a pale pink because I'm starting with white. And if I start with white, then it doesn't matter. I don't need the pale pink because I'm going to mix in. I'm going to start with the prawn, and this is going to make me a very pale pink to start with. Now the thing about using a brayer is be really, really light-handed with it. Hardly touch the card, because if you press down too hard, all you do is create a rectangle of colour, you run out of paint, and then there's nowhere to spread it. So keep it really, really light, and also work it on the brayer first. Now I've got my craft mat well in view so that you can see that, and I'm actually just going to start with white. You can see how I'm working that first and hardly touch. Such a light touch. The thing is, if it goes a bit too blocky, it doesn't matter. You just add a bit more white and go back. I don't want this too dense in the background, because I still want my infusions, all those nice little inky splots of infusions to show up. Now you can see I've still got quite a lot of space in there. A bit of a blob there, let's get rid of that. Now I'm adding a bit of kiwi gold. This is really translucent, which adds a really nice light layer. Now I don't want too much of this, I don't want to overwhelm this. So again, I'm hardly touching. So I'm going to take a bit of that off there. Hardly touching. And you see how that's just brought in tiny bits of that nice kiwi gold. Now if you want to add a little bit of depth to it, then you could go on with a little bit of cherry red or just something darker. So if you're working in the blues, you might take it up from something like cerulean up to deep sea. So just taking it one step a little bit darker, but you've got to be super careful. Because this is a much stronger colour. Again, it's that really, really light touch. Now I'm going to leave that there. And now I'm going to add some infusions. Now I'm just changing the craft mat. Now with the infusions, I tend to keep mine in these little, like they're old like little cosmetic pots or like little travel cosmetic pots. Even if it dries up in here, you add a bit of water, it reactivates. So you've always then got some to go in pots, and then you're not kind of wasting it and rinsing it out all the time. Now I'm still going to use my brayer. You can see how I've just spread a bit on my craft mat. And of course, the more water you add, the lighter this colour is going to be. So it's up to you really how much water. Now this helps. Can you see how straight away by doing that, it's helping me just to bead that up. when I put this down, I'm going to turn this and press it on here. I'm not going to press too hard. If I press too hard, all of those nice beady bits will just go completely flat. I actually just want to put it down quite lightly. And pick up that first layer. Look at those. Now if you miss a bit, I've got a little bit of a patch there, you can just go back in. Now if you block that off straight away, you are going to lose some of that colour. So it's up to you. If it's too strong, blot it off. If you want to just leave it, then it will retain that really dark colour. I'm going to do the same, but so that one, by the way, was magenta, and I'm now going to use Golden Sands. Golden Sands is a really nice yellowy. Limoncello is quite brown. Golden Sands comes out quite yellow. So you can see how it goes on quite as brush strokes on the mat first, adding a little bit of water, and then it really is the brayer, I think, that helps. Just get a cleaner brayer. As soon as I'm literally just tapping it, and it helps it then just to bead it up a little bit. And I'm just going to repeat that. Again, I'm not pressing too hard. Somebody's saying, that's what size card are you working on? Okay, so this actual measurement here of this piece measures 14 centimetres by 16.5. And that is literally just because it fits nicely inside my journal, allowing that little bit of space around the edge. So just if you're doing what I'm doing and working sort of loose leaf and then adding it to your journal, you're just cutting it slightly smaller than your journal page. So when you brayer a layer of acrylic paint, it's actually, because acrylic paint's plastic, it does help to seal the page a little bit. Not completely, because we did such a light layer, but it does help to seal the page a little bit. And this is why I always have messy hands. Now I've got that far, that's most of the mess done now. Let's just move back into the middle here. I'm going to add some stamping to this now. And actually, I don't think it really matters. So I'm going to do some stenciling through here and adding some stamping, and I don't think it really matters what order you do the layers in. I can just bring back the painty stencil. And a bit more cherry red. So I'm now going to use, I think I'll do the stenciling first. Now again, when I add the stenciling, I don't need to fill every window shape on the stencil, because sometimes it can get then a little bit too much. It's already getting quite busy. So I'm going to start with that medium colour, so the medium pink, and like I said, you don't have to fill the whole window. Now I'm going to introduce a second colour. I'm just reading comments as well. Never happier than when I have painty and inky hands, that's Susie. Yep, well, I think we're all the same. Sometimes though, I do wish I could have nice nails, but I've kind of given up on that now. So you see, I'm just bringing in a little bit of the kiwi gold, not filling the whole window and keeping it really light. And then just to add a little bit of depth, this is where you've got to go steady away, pick up a bit of the darkest colour. So I've got onto my cherry red now. Now I haven't filled it all, but I think I've got enough pattern there. Now I'll just lift that up for a closer look. You know, so there's the hint of the leaf shape without overdoing it too much. So let me just get rid of that messy bit again. And I'm going to bring in now this one is off the set with the hairs, so KCO 19, and usually at this point I will bring in colours of ink pads that I already am using, so I'm not introducing new colours, I'm just adding. So this is like quite a hot pink, and this little spiral shape is just so useful. I know I do repeat myself, I know that, but circles are useful because they don't fight with anything. They don't have any edges. So you can kind of just keep stamping things like the spiral. It's not really going to clash with anything. This is like a slightly lighter colour. This is Venetian orange. So again, I'm just introducing that colour because it's already there. But then of course it's black, touches of black that make all the other colours pop. It doesn't matter how bright your colours are, as soon as you add the black, it makes everything look brighter. So we're going to have the black at one end, and when this is dry, I'm going to add white pen at the other end, and then you've got all that colour in the middle. And somehow, you know, that just works. Now, usually I'll bring in black from the edge. It looks okay when you bring it in from the edge. If I just went straight in the middle, it would look a little bit disjointed. So you can always add more later if you feel it needs it. Now I'm going to leave the stamping there for now, just because, like I said, you can add more later on. Now one other thing, so the gold, and I've just got some old lids and things here, and I'm going to do this layer now so that it can dry, ready to add the stamped images. Sometimes the gold can separate a bit. You just need to give it a good shake or a good stir. The nice thing about these frescoes, they are quite a liquid paint, which makes them really, really good for stamping things like bottle lids. If you find yours is a little bit thick, I mean mine's okay actually, but you can always just add a bit of water. And again, Mrs. Circles doesn't argue with anything. And when you're adding something to an all-over design, it really helps to bring things off the edge as well. And I've got this old hotel card. Groups of 3, because 3 is just the magic number. Okay, now there is my background. Backgrounds, of course, come to life once you start building them up and putting something on top. So the minute you start to add your images, your backgrounds tend to make more sense, I always think. Now I'm just going to put that to one side. And just to let that dry a little bit. And now we're going to have a look at some stamped images. So one of the fun things about these, especially these slightly bigger stamps that I designed last time, the bird one is particularly useful because it's got the legs. So on my original one, I used the bird with the sign. Now this is a bit of paper piecing, so I've stamped this on an old print and just cut it out here. So that's like instant colour, and I've got a whole video on that in the guides section. But this is where we can start to play around. So the bird, now I would chop his head off, but not quite ready for that yet, could become a hare. Now instead of the sign, you could add a fish looking at the hare. Or the hare could be holding another hare. I'm not sure if that's gruesome or not. Well, I quite like it. This one, he's in charge, so he could have the crown on. Obviously this little bird just appears everywhere. So that one is one of the from the new release set as well. See, you can start to build up images within images. Now even the fish, so this bird didn't have any wings when I designed it, but actually you can add wings from the hare. So you could just chop those and give the bird wings if you want to. Or now sometimes what I like to do is leave a little bit extra So I'm actually cutting out the fish tail. But leaving that little tab bit there, because that could become, it's just easier to place things. So he could have a wing there. Doesn't need a wing on the other side. That's just a hint of a wing. Yeah, maybe not everybody would like that head on there. That's the one I had originally. See, it's fun when you start to play around, and you can use images from previous stamp sets. You know, you can really start to play around with things. This is not a new idea, it's just a really fun idea. And I think working with these bigger stamps as well, it just works really nicely. And as I say, the bird with these extra legs works really nicely. Right, I'm going to piece this together. Joe's just commented, off with his head. I don't know what goes through my head sometimes, to be honest. So what I'm going to do now, this paper piecing, what I've done is stamp the bird body onto a gel plate print, something like, I've got some here. There's something like this. And I've cut it out. Oh, it's probably from here, actually. Cut it out, and then it's instant colour. I'm just going to stick that in place. Now there's a little bit extra to help paper piecing look a little bit more cohesive. As I said, there's a whole video, but I will finish this one off properly. And quite often I like to do a combination of paper piecing and then watercolour other parts. So you don't have to paper piece the whole thing. Now I'm going to trim some of the bird head off. Sorry, it feels a bit brutal. And then, of course, you can angle the head as well. It does make quite a difference. I think I'm going to chop that collar off. Now, is anybody actually playing along live? Or are you going to have a go later? Sandra says she loves how quirky these are. Thanks, Sandra. We're doing something very quirky with them today. Right, so now we've got the bird body, and I'm just going to angle his head a little bit, makes him just look a little bit inquisitive. Now, the sign is incredibly useful, I think. It doesn't have to be a sign. He could just be holding up a bird. Or it could be the fish swimming in, or the other hare head, as we said. I might just put him with the bird, actually, this time. Let's do something a bit different. Jill said she's scared to miss anything if she plays along. Well, you know what? You can have me on rewind. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. There, so now we've got the bird with a hare head, with a fish wing for a fish tail for a wing, and he's holding up a bird. And that one can go in there or maybe down there. I'll add that later. You see how it starts to come to life when you get it on that background. Now I'm going to do a little bit of watercolouring. You can colour in obviously with anything. You can even colour in with your watered down infusions. You can use your matte tints, watercolours, anything water soluble. I know some of you do amazing things with Copics. I'll give him a crown as well. Yeah, Helen says she likes to watch first and then play along. Yeah. I always think as well that your head goes to work, especially when you're asleep. You know, sometimes you go off to bed and you're obviously dreaming and stuff at night, and then you wake up and you have fresh ideas, or you can suddenly do something. But sometimes you need a bit of time to process it, I think. Right, I'm just clearing up some of my mess here. Now, when I use watercolours, in fact, anything, when I'm colouring in with anything, my tints or the infusions, I still like to leave a lot of white space. So I tend to colour in edges, bring it in a little bit, but a lot of white space. And again, I think it's because when you are working on such a dense and colour heavy background, sometimes you need a little bit of white space on top. So I'm picking out a grey here. So I'm going to keep him fairly neutral. And you can see how I'm just starting there on the edge. And I'll tell you about this paintbrush because I always get a lot of questions about the paintbrush. It's a Winsor & Newton travel brush. Now what I did then, I went round with the colour, then clean your brush and just blend it from the inside out. That's important. If you blend from the outside in, you keep pulling the colour in. Oh, Donna says she's drinking tea and chilling. That sounds nice. And then you can just build up a little bit of extra colour around the edges. So you can see I'm focusing on edges and leaving the middle a little bit lighter. And normally I'd be a little bit more careful. I'm actually standing up to do this and I wouldn't be normally. Now, same thing, I'm just going in around edges. So I've done a yellow there, and then I'm just going to bring in an orange. So taking it just a step darker. And I don't always blend. Sometimes just a little blob of colour, that's enough. Now if we look at the body here, so this is where I've used the gel print, but it needs a bit of darkening up around the edges. I'm just pulling out a dark green. Now to start with, that's going to resist the watercolour because it's a plastic. We'll come back to it and we'll make it behave in a minute. So I've cleaned my brush and I'm just blending it in. See how it's sinking in now? And it's just shading the edges. so if you can see the difference there, just by adding a little bit of watercolour around the edge. Now this pink, this is Opera Rose Pink. Really gives things a lift, look at that. Now I'm going to use a bit of that pink here as well, just kind of ties things together. And this fishtail, which is now a wing, is a really good example of how I don't colour every little bit of space. See how I'm going in quite blobby. Now I'm cleaning my brush, sorry, I know that's out of sight, and then I'm being very lazy and drying it on the back of my hand. And now because I've got a damp, clean brush, it's just getting rid of those edges. Now here's the orange that I used earlier, that was on the crown there. And I'm just making that pink pop a bit more. Water on the brush, clean it on the back of your hand. You can see just circular motion there. You see how that is just blending it in. And sometimes that is enough colour, because when you put that on your background, sometimes that is just enough. Now I've got his arm to do here. And here's another example of how I'm not really colouring the whole thing. That'll do, I think. That's enough colour. Now this one, I'm just doing this to the side just because it's easier for me. Just on every little notch of the wood there. I am going to add some shading now with my Stabilo pencil, and that really does make a difference. Now then, what colour shall we have the birdie? No. I would do that a little bit more careful, but you know, that's all right for now. And I'm going to add some shading, but I'm just going to let that dry a little bit first because my Stabilo pencil is water soluble. Now when I start to layer this up ready to go into my journal, Now, if I can find it. So I did cut some strips, and this is just the edge of a gel plate print, because when he's standing, and that just gives him something to stand on, just grounds the feet and the sign a little bit. And also, when you're working onto a bigger page, sometimes just bringing out just little bits like that, then when you place that on your bigger page, it really helps to bed that into the page. It just grounds it somehow. Now I'm going to see if it's dry enough. So before I stick that in place, so with a white pen. So remember I said we've added the black here, but sometimes a little bit of white really helps as well. And I'm picking out the circles and using that as a guide just to add some extra scribbles. You can also add, even with a paint pen, if you flick it, you can add a few little extra splats as well. Now I'm just going to lift that to one side, and let's just go back to this image. So this is it's a Stabilo pencil. Any dark pencil actually would do here. And what I'm looking for is, again, corners and edges to really add shading. Now, it does actually, to start with, you feel like you're going in so dark, but it needs it. And as soon as you put it onto the page, it just works. You can see I am just doing edges and corners. And I'll probably add a little bit more shading to that. Let's just go back now to how it looks when you put it together. So if I go back to my original journal, now I'm not going to stick all this in for now. I will stick it in, I'll finish it off, and I will put the finished photograph in the group. And I'll probably use some of those little 3D raised fixers just to sort of raise it off the page a little bit. And once it's dry and it's stuck in place, I will probably add some little bits of stickles as well, and maybe a little quote up here where I have left that gap. So there we have it. So that's a background of frescoes with infusions, with some stamping, and then a bird body with a hare head, a fishtail for a wing, and holding up a little bird. We'll probably bring that one in as well. Well, I hope you have fun play along with that technique. I do think that background is very, very doable as long as you keep it very, very light with your brayer. If you make any great big splodges by accident with the paint, you just go back on with a little bit more white. You can manage it, you can blend it, and then building up the layers with a little bit of the stamping and the bottle top stamping and so on. And then you've got a lovely background for your fun Frankenstein images. And don't forget, you can use old releases as well, mix and match. I know we've all got loads of stamps stashed away, so do something different with them. Swap the heads, add wings, chop their feet off, do anything. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and when you do, you know, perhaps rewatch and play along, then please share it. Let's all see what you get up to. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you and good night.